Humans of the Cardboard, small little baby piece of news here tonight. Nothing concrete, nothing really, for certain. But I do think this is a pretty interesting topic to go on. So the OCG is currently revealing all their reprint stuff for their quarter century chronicle. This is where they go through and they give the potential to get really cool rarities as well as just nice reprints in general for a bunch of different deck cores. It looks like there's like 11 or 12 deck cores per one. They did the first one at the end of February. This one's coming out March 23rd, a month later. So it's only a month apart, but I think they just wanted to give all these reprints out, but they wanted to make sure they didn't go too long between them. But anyway, the cool thing about this is I think it could be a hint that some of these archetypes could be getting support. Not that it's a guarantee. If you look at most of the archetypes that have already been revealed for this one, the Pride, I think the other one's called Unity. It has like Yugi and a lot of like main characters, and then this one's Pride, which have like the Seto Kaibas of the world, the Zane Truesdale, so Cyber Dragon, all that stuff, Photons, DDD, like characters that tend to be very prodful there. So that all makes sense, and all those are very prevalent characters. But as we get to the end, and the archetypes they choose at the end, these ones are a little less obvious, and these ones to me ring like maybe it could be alluding to the fact that these archetypes could be getting support sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? Konami wants to get easy to obtain cards from the archetypes out there, so that way when they do get new support, it kind of all mashes together. The products are kind of flowing into each other. It all makes sense. Plus, I think these are archetypes that make sense if Konami's trying to give them support. So first up is Madolche. They're basically printing the entire core for all of these. This one makes a ton of sense. This is a huge fan favorite. To me, this is sort of like the in the same vein as Trap Tricks, not super anime relevant or anything like that, not a character to compare it to, but it has that cute girl aesthetic that people love. And so it's a fan favorite in that regard. It has also like the cool dessert aesthetic. I like that part about it. I think that's pretty cool. But even though it has gotten some tools in the last couple of years, those tools haven't really held up. They don't have, it feels like they're missing some stuff that are kind of requisites to kind of like compete in the modern day and age. Plus, sometimes I end up doing this where like an archetype gets support and I'm like, they just got support, didn't they? And then I look back on it and I'm like, oh, that was like 4 or 5 years ago. That's crazy. Did not realize it was that long. So for how popular this archetype is, I would not be surprised if Konami wants to swing back around, give them like 2 more new cards, and let them keep going off and see if Madolche can get back into playability again, because we haven't really even seen it on the rogue level since like tier limit format, and that was only because it had such a specific matchup that actually was kind of favorable versus tier. But yeah. All right, so that's the first one. Next up, we move to Magical Musketeers. I have talked about these guys at nauseum. I think this makes a ton of sense. Last year, or maybe that was, 2023, maybe beginning of 2023, late 2022, Weather Painters got a really nice wave of support because that field spell is awesome. And they needed it. These came out in the same deck build pack, and not that Konami has to support these at the exact same time, but you know what I mean? They feel like they're from the same era. They do feel like they kind of are connected in that way, and so I think this archetype makes a ton of sense as well. I love a lot about this archetype. I think it has some cool tools, but it has some very, very key weaknesses that are just so obvious just by the way the deck functions. Deck's very, very normal summon dependent. The deck usually needs to open like a monster and a spell at the same time to like make things happen, and there's definitely some huge weaknesses there. So I'd love to see this. I think I want to see some spells that actually push your engine. All the spells in the archetype, the deck doesn't have like engine spells, and that's the exact thing that would help this deck so much, because all of the monsters trigger when any spell or trap is activated in their column. So if you actually had good engine spells, then we wouldn't have to play just generic cards like, you know what I mean, like pots and stuff, just to be spells that can freely activate under them and let them trigger. You'd actually be getting your engine started. So an E-Telly would be huge, I think. Even a Rhoda is fine. Just anything like that can kind of get your engine going that way is huge. They already have some really insane tools, such as some of their trap cards and, of course, Max. But I think this one makes a ton of sense. This one I do think could be huge. I'd love to see it. All right, number 3. This is the one I'm the most scared of, I would say. Thunder Dragon. You know, this one is cool. Like, you know, cool fun. I like that it's like a dragon archetype, but it's not even dragons. They're like thunder monsters. So I think it's a little bit cooler than most dragon archetypes. I'm not a huge dragon fan in general. But these guys are cooler. And the one thing I'm fearful of with this that makes me think this may not get support, and maybe it will because it's the OCG that's doing this. Whenever an archetype has cards on the ban list, my first inclination would be they would probably start by either erratating a card they didn't think could come off the ban list and then getting it off, right? So that way then they could go ahead and print support down the line, or, you know, eventually a card gets power crept that it can come off. Well, in the OCG they have Thunder Dragon Colossus back. We do not, though. We have still decided this card's a little bit too broken still, and fair enough. I'm still scared of this card for sure, especially since there are some generic tools to play him in decks that have no business playing a Thunder monster in them, with the Nemesis guy, the Thunder guy. So just some things to keep in mind. I don't know if I fully believe in this one. I mean, I think it could be cool because I do think this archetype has overall been power crept a little bit. I think they have to be weary, though, of just like generic, you know what I mean, like chaos type cards. There's a couple of, I remember when this deck was in its heyday, it was just getting abused to high heaven with just generic like light dark good cards, and so I'd be fearful of that because we've only gotten more cards that can help them work with that by this point. But still, it's a cooler archetype. I'm just scared of Colossus, but like if Konami's not scared of it, then neither am I guess. So yeah. All right, and the last one here is Drytron. This one, just as well, has just been power crept out of the game. This is the last one here. You know, it's supposed to be a ritual-based archetype, but they don't really do that often. They really are just like a pretty good spam engine that gave you good grind and gave you some pretty degenerate end board pieces that were like, you know, kind of Calamity-esque of like answer this now or you lost the game. But it's a cooler deck if they can take out that degenerate side of it. And it was a fan favorite. I know there are a lot of people that still like Drytron, even though they haven't really been very good since their prime. But still cool to see. I think that one makes sense too. Like, and that's just it. Like, why throw these 4 in there? You had everything anime up until this. That just makes sense in general. People are always looking for anime cards. Like, they're always going to do well. Especially if you're doing it of like the most popular characters out there. But then you get to these 4 random ones, and it makes me very excited at the prospect, specifically for, I would say, Madolche and Magical Musket more than the other 2. Because I've actually even done videos like analyzing these 2 and saying like what I'd like to see for support for either of these archetypes. But the other 2, I wouldn't complain about, and I know there'd be a lot of players that'd be happy as well. So it is what it is. We'll see. Obviously, this is all speculation. There's nothing. There's no meat and potatoes to this. There's no founding behind this. I just think this being printed in this kind of set does nothing to hurt your chances of actually getting support. Like of meaning you could be getting support. It only can help. It's either going to help or it doesn't mean anything. And Konami does either just archetypes that are fan favorites and they want to make some reprints for. Whoop-de-doo. But I think it makes more sense if Konami is a smart business to go ahead and print them if new support is coming, so that way these products all mesh together and kind of help each other sell even better. So we'll keep an eye on it. As soon as we see one of these archetypes get new support, maybe it's in Infinite Forbidden or the core set after, immediate red flags in my mind. All 4 of those other archetypes immediately become live to potentially get legacy support right around the corner. So I'll keep you posted on that. If any of these do, I will mention that in a later video and just make sure you keep it in mind. But that's everything for I have today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more little discussion videos like this one, more speculation stuff if we don't have actual news. And let me know your thoughts down below. If these 4 were to get support here, let me know which one you'd want the most and what you'd want to see for them. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that as well. But I'm out for today. Thank you so much for watching as always. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff. I will see you in the next one. Peace.